Hi everyone, it's Simon Keeling here at weatherweb.net. Thanks again for watching on Friday the 21st of February. This is your look ahead video. If you do need a forecast for the next few hours, the next couple of days, then take a look at our fast forecast. Now you could call this a super look ahead video because it now seems that we need to adjunct the word super to anything that we want to emphasise. Because the spring tides that we're experiencing today and tomorrow have been renamed. Yes, they're no longer spring tides, they're now super tides, because that's what we need to make things appear more dramatic. This was the picture taken of the Severn bore this morning by Dave Throop from the Environment Agency. You can follow Dave's excellent Twitter feed at Dave Throop EA. And if you just follow the link at the top of the page there, Dave took a video of the Severn bore, and this is a still taken from it, and it really is superb. So take a look at that video from this morning from the Severn bore, a super Severn bore, no doubt. And it's not just the normal portions of the press that you'd expect to be describing things as super. You know, it's not just the usual suspects. I mean, this is the BBC News South West Wales headlines, and just look at this. Newgale and Tintern roads shuts amid rare super tide fear. For goodness sake, I expect better of the BBC than this. You know, I've worked for the BBC for a long time, and really standards are much, much higher than this. It's ridiculous to be putting super tide in there. You know, I wonder what's this down to. Is it just down to a lack of editorial control? Is it inexperienced people who are putting these stories out there? Don't just copy what you see in the press. Ask around. Can we use the term super tide? Is it really right to be using these terms? It's a spring tide. It's a high tide. It's what we get when the sun and the moon align in the way that they have. It's not a super tide. It's nonsense to be describing it as such. And that well-known scientist, Mary Poppins, has been describing it as supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, apparently. But on to the serious stuff of weather, though. A couple of cyclones affecting eastern and northern Australia at the moment. In fact, we could call it northeastern Australia, couldn't we? Tropical cyclone Marcia heading out to sea now, but this was a satellite picture from earlier on today. Caused some destruction up in the northeastern parts of the country. And tropical cyclone Lam, which is headed its way southwestwards there, still bringing winds of up to 100 miles an hour in places, although it's diminishing as it moves inland. Nothing unusual. It's tropical cyclone season out there, and it certainly still could be chance for a super cyclone to form, or even a super typhoon. Yes, those are legitimate terms. And I thought we'd just have a glance around the globe, see how things pan out temperature-wise in the next 7 days. Just look how cold Greenland, Canada, and the central and eastern states are remaining. Some bitterly cold conditions continuing there, although warmer look across the western parts of the states. Warmer too across parts of western Russia, across Scandinavia, through the eastern parts of Europe as well. And also warm here look across southeastern parts of Asia, but cool across northeastern parts of Russia. Australia is staying on the warm side, although it's cooler across eastern coast, and down across South America, quite cool overall at the moment, and Africa seeing near normal temperatures, but slightly warmer than normal across central parts. Now, what about close to home? Well, this is the CFS prediction of the NAO from Carl McRitch's site. Excellent site. And the dates are along the bottom here, look, taking us up to the early part of May. Of course, you've got to treat it with a bit of a pinch of salt, but it's good to be using as a guide. And you notice how the flow, look, the NAO is positive really right the way through until those early parts of May. And the Arctic oscillation, well, that kind of varies. It oscillates. You see what I did there? It oscillates around. It's kind of starting off fairly positive, and then it kind of dips into the negative territory during the early part of March before going positive once again. Now, what this means is this North Atlantic oscillation in a positive mode trends into more of a westerly flow across the Atlantic, and with the more positive Arctic oscillations, it tends to keep the cold weather onto the pole unless we get one of the wobbles as we've seen across the northeastern parts of the state. So certainly this indication at the moment is of this flow becoming dominated by westerly winds, or or at least that westerly zonal flow coming across the Atlantic. Now, of course, it doesn't tell us the full story, and the big story really for this week is going to be the strengthening of the jet stream. This is the week 1 forecast, 19th of February through to the 25th of February from the CFS. There's the higher than normal heights to the southwest and to the southeast of us. Here's the lower than normal heights look coming through the British Isles and, in fact, across parts of Scandinavia too. But central parts of Europe tend to stay in the fairer conditions, although look at these lower than normal heights still down towards the south. Again indicating more unsettled conditions across northern portions of Africa. Now if we go into week 2, then you'll see here, look, low than normal heights towards the north, higher than normal towards the south, but look at that straight westerly jet is going to be developing across the Atlantic, indicating these really quite stormy conditions at times at the end of the month, running into the early part of March. Now, week 3 sees a change. Remember this consistent story there's been of higher than normal heights getting back into the country, the trough retreating out towards the west, a ridge building across the UK with more of a mild southerly flow, dry conditions coming into the early parts of March, and then always been hinted at being dominated by that high pressure, taking us into the middle of March. There it is again, look, with a trough in the Atlantic, a mild southwesterly flow. Now what that would lend itself to is southern and eastern areas of the country probably staying in dry conditions, but still rain across the north and the west, and you couldn't really rule out anywhere on that sort of southwesterly flow. However, what I would say is that the ECMWF 32 that came out overnight briefly saw this high building in, but made things far more westerly. So it didn't see, it hasn't seen this sort of build of the high. What it's tried to do is to get the westerly flow more established across the UK. So some discrepancy coming in there from the ECMWF compared to the CFS. What do I think? Well, for my money, this high story of the middle part of March is one that's been there for some time. I can see the pattern evolving into that state, although I have to say as well that we've seen how the atmosphere is in a state at the moment where there's a propensity for it to get back into a westerly flow, kind of the drop of the hat really for the jet to become re-established. So I can see why things are on a knife edge. At the moment, still edging towards the idea of high pressure being there, but of course we'll monitor that and keep you updated throughout here at weatherweb.net. Okay, I'll leave you with that for now. Don't forget, if you need a forecast for the next couple of days, check out our fast forecast. Gary has that for you. And of course, you can get your town forecasts, your city forecasts from weatherweb.net as well. Just enter your details up at the top right-hand corner of the screen here to get the latest 7-day forecasts. Okay, whatever you're doing, have a great day. No, I'll tell you what, have a super day. Let's all have a super day today and make sure that everything we do is super. Whatever you're doing, thanks again for watching. Keep the sun shining, and bye for now. Wasn't that just super?